Hey guys, welcome to my review. I'm Mr. P and today I'm doing a review of a big atomizer. So what I'm doing today is the Tobeco Cerberus 26650 atomizer. This comes to me from Spain Cigar. It's one of these Spain Cigar .es. So thank you guys for sending this over to me to have a little play with. So Cerberus, lovely. That's what I'm doing today. Now a bit of information about the Cerberus. First of all, price €19, so we're only talking about 15-16 quid. Not bad. Triple coil atomizer, triple coil only. Okay, so no other options. It is a big beast. You have got independent negatives for each coil. You've got a joint positive, and you'll see in the close-up if you don't know about the Cerberus already. Just airflow, 28.5mm diameter, and that, as the Cerberus is, it is made to go with the Hades. So we have got, you know, bits and bobs to make that possible as well in a way that we'd like to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it on the table for us really quickly. We're going to have a little look at it all, and then bring it back up, and we'll have a little chat about the atomizer. Right guys, a little close up of the Tobeco Cerberus clone. So have a little look around her. There we go. A few pictures on the box, CE markings, and then Tobeco. Let's open her up and see what we get. So there we go. Okay, so what we've got is a bag with a Phillips head screwdriver, some silica, and some cantho in. That is the extent of that situation right there. And then let's open the atty and see what gives. Right, so in here, oh, where do we start? Let's start taking it apart. That's always the first thing. So top cap and deck, really. So let's start with the top cap. We have 1, 2 and 3 air paths in there, so we're talking triple coil and triple coil only, ladies and gents. Big hunger stainless steel, this slightly domed top cap for increased flavour. 510 drip tip goes in there, and every one that I've tried does fit. A little groove around here. It's very, you know, no spills, no frills, simple design. That a brushed finish, which is a bit of a shame actually, because every Hades I've ever been near has been a polished finish. Now obviously the Cerberus is designed for the Hades, so it makes no sense that this isn't polished, but okay. And then into the deck. Now look at that bad boy. 1, 2, 3 negatives, and in the centre, three independent positives. Now as you can see, I've gone under the screw on mine, but you have got post. It's just you've got very little room to push into that post. So for me, you're best off leaving it on, going around the top, and then your negatives milled straight into the deck. Around the edge. Each coil option has 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 air holes, but when you do have the top cap on, you're only able to expose a maximum of 4 of them. It just gives you options for the coil location, so bear that in mind. The body's held on by 1 chunky O-ring there. Now there are no spares included in this kit, so you know it's a bit of a shame, but you know I found it fits. To be honest, it does fit perfectly. As you can see, there is a huge drip well in there, capable of taking much of your e-liquid. So that's that. Now on the bottom, 1466 serial, and you have an adjustable 510, which I can demonstrate by doing that. Okay, so adjustable 510, and then if you give it a little bit of body and unscrew that, you can remove that 510 altogether, and then you have a hybrid adaptation here for the Hades. As I say, they're designed to go together. A nice big fat bit of insulation there, keeping your positive away from your negative, and there's a little O-ring just along the top there to make sure that when it is in the 510, if it does move around, it's protected from short in there. So that's fairly simple stuff. What I've got in it is 3 9-wrap of 0.34 coils. Okay, so it works out to be about 0.3 ohms. So you know, I'm going low, but then I tend to, especially when 3 coils is given to me as an option. So what you do is just adjust, don't undo completely, but adjust your positive contact there. And as I say, it's designed to hybrid a Hades. Unfortunately, I just happen to have one here. So once that's there, give that a little screw down, fire her up. So we've got 3 evenly heating coils. Let's lock that off. Now I didn't do a reworking camera, guys, and I do apologise for that, but I didn't want to, if I'm honest. I'm not saying this is the worst that in the world to build, it's not, but it's not a simple build all the same, because it is a triple coil. At least you do have room to move, I suppose, but it is a triple coil build, and it's been a long day, so that's not what I fancied. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to quickly cotton it on camera, as I have done in the last few of the Spain cigar reviews, because it speeds up the close-up. You know, you've seen what you need to see, and in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm making a couple of wicks, or three to be precise, but I'm making a couple of wicks for this bad boy out of cotton. So just bear with me for 2 ticks. 1, 2, and this is now number 3. Now it's not got options, this stripper. It's not got, you know, single or dual. Even if you wanted to do that, you have got to go triple. You know, you've got to go trip coil. It's either go hard or go home in this circumstance. I'm not complaining. I quite like the fact it's a triple coil. It's a bit wacky and a bit crazy. Look at the positive post, you know, it's completely different to what we're used to seeing. And then obviously, once you do have your cotton involved in the situation, I did have these coils up higher initially. I found they vaped better when I moved them down lower, to, you know, bolt in line with the air holes. So just bear that in mind. All we're looking for is a little bit of cotton to stick out the front there, and it's just not giving it to me. So we'll go in this way, see if that makes a difference. It might just be Mr. P being a shaky bell end today, which, let's just face it, I'm bell end most of the time, but shaky, that can happen to me. So there we go, we have one. So once we've got one in, give it a pull, give it a twist, get the coil and the cotton, sorry, to where you know it needs to be for your coil, and then it is unfortunately a rinse and repeat situation. Let's just make sure that look at me is fully on. It is a rinse and repeat situation for the next 2 coils. I've got to say, when I did coil this, it was not a learning curve per se, because it's you know, it's just a coil, but you have got to be aware that it's not your standard build. I wouldn't go into this light-heartedly. See if I can't grab a bit of candle to scoop that cotton out for me. For all those fouls, guys, use candle. It's small and it sticks to bloody everything. So same thing with this one. Give it a pull. You know, there's nothing special going on here. It's just your standard coiling procedure and wicking procedure, but times 3. So last one, and then you can see why, looking at what's happening already, I didn't go for the complete rewick option. I did do a triple coil rewick recently on the Onslaught, if you wanted to see a triple coil rewick, but today just wasn't a day for one in Mr. Proton's world. So get back to the candle. All we need is that little bit there, and there you go. This is why tweezers are such a little lifesaver for me half the time, because sometimes you just can't get it. There we go. So now the scissors are going to come into play. You do not need loads of cotton, guys. You've got 3 coils in there, and you've got a fair amount of wick to fit into that limited space. It's not that limited, you know, as I said, it looks very generous in fact, but you know, there's no point overpacking it. So let's just poke her down, and then same all the way around, just poke them down like so. And then what you want to do is grab, well, a load of your favourite e-liquid. Let's go with this one, which is back onto Kryptonite Cosmic Fog. I do like this liquid, it's definitely grown on me. And then all I want to do is just literally douse the whole bloody lot. It takes loads to prime this fully, so just give it, be generous. I mean, it depends on what wicking material you use and how much it takes to prime, but you know, those of you that are on cotton, which I'd imagine is most of you, will know just how much juice this stuff holds. I mean, I've intentionally basically flooded that, and then what I'll do is just make sure everything there is got it needs to have. In fact, Mr. P may have done something stupid and actually bloody overflooded it. So the advantage of these sucky bottles, just suck some of it back up, lovely. And now just give it a little fire, wait for the all three to rock in. Doesn't look like the most dramatic thing in the world, but trust me, when you're putting air through that, it definitely kicks off. And then it's a simple case of lining up. And now obviously you can, if you build your core towards edge, you can close it off if you wanted to and have just one air hole open, but you know I'm going to have all four air holes open if I can. So now all I need to do is find myself a nice little drip tip. So I think we will go with that one, and then we're going to bring it back up to me, a nice little vape on it. Right guys, welcome back up. So a few cool things. That positive post looks awesome. Now as you see in the close up, I went over the screw under the screws at the top purely because if you stick it into the hole there, there's very little travel back before it hits the back of that positive post, if you can call it that. So therefore, in order to get it to take how I'd want it to, I'd have to cut that wire incredibly short and then kind of feed it in using tweezers, then screw it down. Personally, I think it's just easier to go under the top. That's just just my opinion, but not everyone's the same. If you disagree, then that's fine. If that's how you choose to build it. I do want to say, Cerberus clone. I mean, no. Cerberus styled atomizer would be my opinion. It's brushed stainless steel. It's non-branded, So for me, it's not necessarily a 1-1 clone. Perfectly honest with you. I personally think it's a styled atomizer. But that is that. It is what it is. You have got your. Sorry guys, I'm just going to change my battery. You have got your option to hybrid it with a Hades, which is what I've chosen to do. But you've also got the 510 that can be attached, so you can use it on any atomizer, any mod, that you want to. Now that's nice that that's been thought of, because we haven't all got a Hades, and some of us want this atomizer because of how cool it looks inside. So that is that. But yeah, it goes on there nicely. I mean, it looks, I think on the Hades, it is a shame it's not polished, if you ask me, because the Hades, all of them are polished. And I mean the copper ones and so on and so forth, but still, it would look better to me if that was polished to match the switch on here. Same as if I just had the polished version of the Hades in the first place. So, I mean, that's it is what it is. I think what I'll do, I'll go into my 5-point hit list about it, and then we'll try and cover everything on the way through. First of all, looks. Now, it's very no thrills looks, if you ask me. I mean, we've got 3 air halves in there. They're all fully adjustable to as little or as much as you like. Just bear in mind, if you want less, you have to bring the coil over, because obviously if you stick the coil in the middle, you can knock 4 to 3 by putting the top cap in to where the gaps of the air holes are. You've got air hole gap, air hole gap. If you get it to the edges or in the gaps, you only have 3 air holes as opposed to 4. But really, to get less airflow than 3, you're going to have to make sure the coil's on the end so you can knock it up to 2 or 1. So I mean, that's something to bear in mind. I know that's nothing to do with looks, but it was in my head and I say it. Open it up, inside it looks cool as hell, and it's not just outside, inside looks cool, if you ask me. But it is very no frills, it's very simplistic, and I like that. So I'm going to give it a 10 for looks. I think it looks awesome. Now next on the hit list is usability. I do just want to have a little look at something quickly, guys, whilst you're here, because to be honest with you, that feels a bit anemic to me. Now, I'm using Sony 30 amps in there, and to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think they're all that. I think my E-Fest 18650s hit harder, so I am going to chuck this onto a variable wattage device very quickly and see if I can't fire it. I'm not entirely sure of resistance. I think it was about 0.3. Okay, so we can fire it. Let's just see if we can get the power up on this whilst I'm going over usability with you. Now, usability, it's triple coil. You've got to put 3 coils in it as well. So I mean, that's definitely a knock on usability to start with, because you know, using it to start with isn't as easy as a dual or a single. It's just not. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Other than that, really, sorry guys, I'm just getting to the top end of the wattage scale. Other than that, really, there's not much to bear in mind. It's got a massive juice well. Okay, you have got to make sure that your coils are placed where your relevant airflow is. Now mine is always as wide open as it can go, so it's not a problem, but if you do like less of the airflow, bring it over slightly to the right or the left hand side, depending on what side you're wrapping your coils on, and make sure you can knock off more than just one of them air holes. It's got a monumental juice well, so you can, you know, once you have filled it up, you can just and splurge the juice in. It holds loads of juice. It looks ridiculous now, to be honest with you, but I can now fire it a bit more power, which is what it should be firing. This is I believe it's 0.3, and that's how it should be firing on them mech. But them Sony's just, they're not living up to their performance anymore. They're really not. They're not even that old or that used, bloody things. So I wouldn't recommend Sony 30 amp or they're 50 amp 2650s, but I'm pretty sure they're just 30. But maintenance, you know, there's very little to maintain. Coil, sorry, usability, so there's very little other than the triple coil, and making sure everything is as it should be in terms of air alignment. Other than that, it's just wrapping coils. You know, there's plenty of room to work in there as well, which kind of makes that triple coil a little bit easier. Usability, I'm going to give it an 8 just because it is triple coil only. But if you're looking at these, chances are you know that's what you're going to be having to do, and you're fully prepared for that to be the case. So. Now next would be maintenance. I started to go into it there. Maintenance is always a 10 unless something's really, really bad, and it's really not. You know, all you've got to do is look after your coils and your wicks and your juice level. Other than that, there's nothing really you need to be aware of in terms of maintenance. It's not polished, so you're not going to have a fingerprint magnet, so you're not going to have to spend your life, you know, buffering out fingerprints. There's very little that you need to be aware of, guys. Let me just adjust my echo. Very little you need to be aware of that you aren't already. So for maintenance, it's going to get a 10. It's easy to maintain. It's easy to look after once you've got it built. Now, onto build quality and price. For €19, it's a 2650 styled atomizer, 28.5mm. That can hybrid with the Hades and have direct contact with the battery. If you haven't got crap batteries like me at the minute, that might be a bit more beneficial to you. But it's also got, you know, that 510 that can be attached, and you can use it on any mech. Sorry, any mech or any mod. Sorry. It's solid as hell. It really is. It's a big chunk of metal. You know, and the design is pretty clever. Obviously, the design doesn't go to Tobeco, but you know, the design is clever. And it's been duplicated well. So build quality's going to get a 10. Price, for the price you're paying, it's the 10. You know, it's 16 odd quid for a big AE. Well worth it. Well worth it. Build quality versus price is a 10. It's not expensive. It's quite cheap. In fact, most of Tobeco stuff is. It would be abnormal if it wasn't, but you know, it performs really well and it's built well by Tobeco, this one. So you know, definitely going to give that one a 10. Flavour and vapour. Well, we'll go into vapour first. It's a 10. It's a triple coil dripping atomizer. Of course, it's a 10. Even when I was sticking on my mech, it was a 10, but now actually I've been able to ramp that power up. You know, it's even more so. There's plenty of vapour there. I mean, we measure this stuff on vapour. I do anyway. I'll give it a number for vapour, and usually it is a 10 because it's hard to mark it up against something. Vaping is most likened to smoking. Jesus, my Nautilus, you know, would produce a lot more vapour than a cigarette would ever produce smoke. So for that purpose, it's a 10, but in the grand scheme of things, chances are you bought this if you like to throw clouds and you want to drip it to hybrid with your Hades or whatever. Even still, it's a 10. You know, you've got a decent low resistance coil in there. It's going to be low because you've got triple. You bear in mind, you know, this is like 3.9 coils, so it's not half in it, it's a third of it. So 0.3 ohms. Yeah, the vapour is definitely a 10. It's a solid, thick vapour. The flavour of this is very, very good actually. It's tasty vape. This is the Cosmic Fog Kryptonite, and it is a very tasty. It tastes just as good in this as it does in the Stellaire, as it does in a lot of other dripping atomizers. Let me just have a little. Yeah, it's a very tasty vape. So I'm definitely going to give that a 10 because the flavour is spot on. It really is. Now moving on to my overall. It's a little bit zany, a little bit out there. Now, I like that. I like the fact it's a bit different. Triple coil is not necessarily the most practical thing in the world, but again, because of that, I like that too. I like things to be a bit silly and a bit out there. In terms of looks, it's very no frills, but they're not. That's my kind of thing as well. You know, don't get me wrong. Something's got to be either very, very subtle or very extravagant for me to go yes. And that is, it's sort of square. It looks great on the Hades, fits seamlessly in hybrid mode. You know, the outside matches the perfect body. The outside matches the body perfectly, and it's spot on. It really is. You can get away with putting it on your other 26650 devices. I've tried this on all the ones I own, and I think it looks pretty good on all of them. I mean, maybe not the King because it's brass, but you know, that is what it is. I'm going to give it a 10. I'm really enjoying using it. I think the flavour's spot on. I think the build isn't too tricky. I think the looks are pretty good. You know, it's a nice subtle design. I wish it was polished to match the Hades though. I mean, that for me is what this screams. Put me in a Hades. In which case, I wish it was a polished finish. But other than that, I mean, I like the fact it's got no branding as well. You know, it has got a serial, but the serial isn't relevant really. Let's be fair. I mean, the serial on this is 1466, but that's on the bottom of your 510 adaptation. It's not even on the actual ATI itself, so it's hidden. It's underneath. You're not even going to see it. Yeah, overall it's a 10. If you like the look of this thing, if this was kind of calling to you, or if you were interested in it, if you get it, you're not going to be disappointed. It's not for everyone. It's a triple coil dripper. No triple coil dripper, no dual coil dripper is for everyone, let alone 3 coils, and it's a compulsory 3 coils. You haven't got an option. So it's definitely not something that I would recommend for each and every person out there. But if you like the look of this, and if you think, yeah, that looks good, I just want to know where it is, and you could. Yeah, it is. The flavour's great, the vapour's great, the build is pretty nice, it holds a monumental amount of juice. I mean, I can drip this once and vape for an hour, no problem. Overall it's a 10. I recommend giving it a go, guys, if you like the look and want to play with one. Obviously, if you're more of a novice builder, I wouldn't say go to this first, but other than that, definitely give it a go. Again, big thank you to Mario and the guys at SpainCigar.es for sending this over to me to have a play with, and then thank you to you guys for tuning in and watching me. I've been Mr. P, and I shall see you soon.